Check on it. Check on it. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you didn't know, my name is Tadasia Diann. I am a nurse. I also do some digital marketing on the side, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about nursing. So make sure you watch the whole video if you are looking to become a nurse. So, welcome. So this video is going to be about you becoming a nurse with a low GPA. And I'm talking about under 2.5 low GPA. Like I'm talking about even 1.88. And I say that specific number because that's the exact GPA that I had when I first started college. So we're going to rewind. I'm going to talk about the schooling, and we're going to talk about my journey from low GPA to registered nurse to now PMHNP student. Yes. So make sure you stay tuned. All right. So my journey, I went to college. I went to a community college when I first graduated high school. I was interested in nursing, but I was so discouraged and I just could not pull myself to apply. Like I heard everyone talking like how competitive the nursing program was, and I was going to apply specifically to Westchester Community College nursing program, and I looked into it. My advisors would give me the runaround with like different programs and different prereqs, and I just wanted to take what was required of the nursing program. So be aware, because advisors will have you taking unnecessary courses that's not required for what you're looking for. So make sure you stay on top of that. Make sure you have your plan and you're taking those classes. Don't have them have you taking unnecessary courses, because you want to stay focused on what prereqs that you need, and you only want to take those and then apply. But anyway, so I went to community college. I had some distractions going on per se, and I just was not like straight out of high school. Like, you know, you're like young and mature and you're kind of not focused. Like you're distracted. You're still young. You still want to party. You still want to hang, and you really don't want to be in school. You're like, whatever, I graduated. I just want to like chill out. Although I always had this ambition and determination to go to school, but I didn't figure that out quite yet when I first started. So long story short, I did one semester. I did my prereqs. I actually did not. Let me go back. I did liberal arts. So I did a couple courses like your basic algebra, and I didn't get good grades. And it's not because I took the course and didn't get good grades, but after my first semester, my second semester, I basically dropped courses at the last minute, which made me get an F. So I got an F in like 3-4 courses. So you know that tanked my GPA like terribly. So I went to a 1.88. So I was like, what am I going to do? Like, what is my next step? So what did I do? I didn't cry about it. I didn't get too annoyed about it. I just decided, okay, maybe nursing is not for me. And I transferred schools and went to a private college. And this is specifically for those of who you want to know. I went to Monroe College. And I went there, and thankfully they accepted me with that low GPA, because, you know, schools be greedy for money. So some schools, they like, you know, come anyway. But they did. Don't get me wrong, like they had a lot of professors there that really did care, and counselors, advisors that really did want to see you on the right path. So it was a good jump. So I decided to go to medical administration. So I was like, you know, hospital billing, insurances. So I went towards that avenue, and I ended up getting my associates in medical administration. After that, of course, I still wasn't satisfied. I needed a change, because staying in your hometown, like, it's not always the best, especially if you don't know what you're about to do with life. And then it was just not given. So I basically took my stuff and packed up and went to UAlbany. So I went up to Albany and I did a 4-year degree. But the thing is, when I transferred, I had my associates and I had credits already. So I transferred to UAlbany and I actually did lose some credits. So I was a year behind when I did transfer. So I transferred to their public health program. So I started there, and about 2 semesters in, again, I did not have the GPA. They wanted a 3.0, and I did not have that GPA at that time, because 1.88 and trying to build that up takes a little bit, especially if you're not getting all A's. So I did not have the required GPA to continue with that program. Yet again, another setback. Like, it's like setbacks after setbacks, but that did not stop me, and don't let that stop you. So I decided to go with psychology. So that ended up being my major. I think I minored in, I want to say I minored in like liberal arts or something. Don't listen, this was a couple years ago, so brain is a little foggy, but I did minor in something. I want to say it was like liberal arts or something to that nature, but my major ended up being psychology, which was very interesting because when I moved to Albany and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, I knew I liked to know more about how the mind works. So keep that in mind. So I got my bachelor's in psychology. During that time, I was, of course, your environment matters. When it comes to building, your environment really does matter. Like, me moving to Albany was the best decision ever because I got to be around like-minded people, and that's what helps you. So I saw everybody, wanting to be doctors, wanting to be lawyers, wanting to take the bar, and I'm just like, what am I going to do? Like, okay, a bachelor in psychology is nice, but what is the future in that? Like, realistically, how much money am I really about to make, and what is that going to do for me? So, like, 4th semester in, before, when I had moved to UAlbany, I didn't have a job, but then like a couple months later, I actually got my first hospital job at St. Peter's. So I got my hospital job. I worked there as a unit clerk. I did part-time while I was in college, full-time. And I worked there for a couple of months before I cross-trained to be a patient care tech in the emergency department. So we're talking about some great experience. So even though my GPA wasn't well, I was still moving. I was still moving in the right direction, So once I got that job, of course, you're around nurses, you're around doctors. So there I go again. I'm like, okay, I'm back to point A. What do I want to be? And I was like, I would literally look around and I'm like, I wonder what it feels like to be a nurse. Like, I would love to be a nurse. Like, so I would like idolize, like, I'm going to be honest, I will idolize and I will look at nurses like, wow, this seems so hard, but so interesting. Like, this is a lot to learn. So of course, once I started getting my experience, did my first CPR, and just really started getting my feet wet and realizing how I deal with patients and how I interact. And I was like, wow, this is my lane. Like, this is for me. So I was like, okay, what do I want to do? Like, I knew, like, back then, I was like 20 years old, mind you. I was like, I definitely want to own my own business. Like, I knew that from rip. I was like, I don't want to work for somebody for the rest of my life. Like, so what path can I take? Even though I want to be a nurse, but what path can I take to become an entrepreneur within nursing? So I looked up PA, physician's assistant. I was like, okay, they make really good money. They made well over 100,000. I was like, okay, that's decent. Like, I can live off of that, of course. And I say decent now because back then it was more. Now it's decent. It's not even all that because prices have gone up. But then I was like, I saw that you had to work under provider. Like, all the time. So I was like, yeah, no, I need to be independent. Like, I do not want to work under somebody for the rest of my life. It's not happening. I can't own my own practice. Cool. Not for me. Then I came across a nurse practitioner. Mind you, when I first went to college, I didn't know about nurse practitioner. I wasn't thinking that far ahead. So this all, like I said again, environment plays a lot. So I started learning more, started researching more, and I was like, wow, NPs can practice on their own? I was shocked because I was like, wow, wouldn't you think a PA could practice? But no, PA cannot practice on their own, an NP can. So, of course, every state has different restrictions, but I'm in New York, so we can practice on our own. So when I seen that, I was like, oh, this is golden. Like, I can own my own practice, my own clinic. I could do, I can do my own thing without working under somebody. Like, this is where business comes in. I was sold. So from that point on, I continued to attend UAlbany, and while I was attending UAlbany, it's like we would have certain breaks. So during those breaks, I decided to register for Cayuga Community College. They had online like A&P microbiology. I took AP 1 and 2 in microbiology. I took those all online while I was literally registered at another college. So you can do that. That is an option. If you did not know, I'm putting you on. So, but I was registered as a non-matriculated student, which means I wasn't getting a degree. I was strictly there for those courses. And I just paid out of pocket for those courses while I was on break. So I would do that in between. So that way, by the time that I graduate from UAlbany, I can start applying for nursing schools already. So that's exactly what I did. I looked up schools. Specifically, I was looking for accelerated bachelor's because I was going to have my bachelor's degree. So if you have a bachelor's and a non-clinical degree, then you can apply for accelerated bachelor's programs for people with bachelor's degree in another field. So that's exactly what I did. So I applied to some ADN programs. I got accepted to an ADN program up in Albany. Then I got accepted to another one near my hometown. So, and that was the accelerated program. So of course I picked up and moved, graduated, picked up and moved. I was about 23 at this time. I'm 23, 24. I moved back home to attend. So I went to orientation and they were talking and they were like, you can't work really. Like all your days was filled up. They basically said you cannot work. And I was like, wait, what? Because I need money. Like, how am I going to afford this? Like, I don't have nobody to fund me. So realistically, and to be honest, I did apply because I don't give up easily. Like, I'm going to do everything. I don't care how many loans. I'm the type of person, I don't care how many loans I have to take out to get to where I want to be as far as my degrees. I'm that person. Not everybody wants to take out loans. Not everybody wants to go to school and owe money. Like, not everybody wants to do that. But me, I have no problem with doing that. Yes, I'm in debt, but I'm going to have a good career that will fund my business and that will, eventually pay off my debt easily. That's the whole point. But so I went to orientation. They said you couldn't work. I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? I'm like, okay, I could finagle. I could still find a part-time per diem. Okay, that's fine. So I go to apply. This was it was a lot of money. This was a private college and it was accelerated. This college is closed down now. Technically, Mercy took all their students, which was College in Rochelle, if you wanted to know. Mercy took over. Now they have their accelerated program, so that is out there. Mercy College is an option if you want accelerated. So I applied. I did not get accepted for any private loans to cover, and I was like, I don't know where this money is coming from. Like, I cannot realistically afford this. So that's when things kicked in and I was like, okay, I'm going to have to find a plan B. So boom. So now I'm back living at home and I'm like, oh, great. Like, I done moved in, have not started. I already got accepted to the ADN program and freaking moved already. Did not want to move back to Albany. So I was like, okay, forget this. All right. Plan B. Found me a full-time job. Then I started looking into more ADM programs near me. And I came across, which I never knew existed, there were 2 ADM programs. I think it's Monty and Cochran. So I end up finding that there were evening classes, which I was like, okay, I can work during the day, do like a 9 to 5 or 8 to 4, whatever, and go to school at night in the evening. I was like, okay, I'm going to be tired because you're doing that at least 4 days a week. So I was like, I'm going to be tired, but I really want this. So boom, after that, I decided I took T's before for the other programs back in Albany, but then this one required Kaplan, which in my opinion, it was harder than the T's. I did better on the T's than I did with Kaplan, which is an entrance exam because you have to take an entrance exam to get into nursing school. So I took the Kaplan. I think it was like a 62 to pass, which is, not too hard, but it is hard because Kaplan, I feel like they were asking you nursing questions a little before you even got to be a nurse. So I was like, wait, what? Anyway, so I took that. I failed by like 1 point. I think I got like a 61 or something. And I was devastated because with Kaplan, with T's, you can take, I don't know if it's still the same, but it was every 30 days you could take it after you took the last one. Kaplan, it was 6 months. So I'm like, here I go again. I'm like, what the heck? So I'm like, okay, now I gotta wait 6 more months. That's half a year. So now I'm like, okay, I'm still getting delayed. I end up taking the Kaplan again, and I passed by 1 point, and I was so nervous because I'm like that's not high enough. Like these programs are so competitive. The next person probably has like, way higher than me. Like I just prayed about it. Point blank period. I prayed, and I got in. Literally, I got in, and I was so excited. So at this time, I was like 26 at this point. So I got in, and I started 2019. I started January, and it was more affordable. I took out loans. There were extra loans that actually covered my schooling. So I didn't even have to really pay out. I think I had to pay a little bit out of pocket, maybe like 200 and something, the most 500 in total of the whole program year. I mean, the whole program for the 2 years. It wasn't a lot, but it was way more affordable than me doing the accelerated bachelor's. This was something I could afford, and I can work full time while doing it. That was key. So I would work like 8 to 4:30, or 8 to 4, get to school around like 5:30. I think my evening classes started. So I would do like 5:30 to like 10. Sometimes we would get out like 9:45, but usually around like 10. We would get off, and I would do that Monday through Thursday. So you either had clinical or you had lecture. So I think we had lecture twice a week and then clinical twice a week. So my school was connected to a hospital already. So we got a lot of our clinical experience already in the hospital, like administering meds, documenting, clean. Like we had a lot of hands-on patient care. But then, of course, like I said, that was 2019, right? So you know what happened. 2020 COVID hit. Yeah. 2020 COVID hit. So the clinicals stopped at 1 point. It stopped. So we didn't go in anymore. But they still, we still did our tests online where they monitored you after they got acclimated to everything that was going on with COVID. So that had stopped, but we still continued. And then I graduated December 2020. I'm not going to lie, I struggled during those 2 years because, of course, I was working full time. COVID was rampant. So, stress levels was, I'm pretty sure I had COVID, but didn't know I had COVID. And this was my last semester. I got sick and I had a final the next day. By the grace of God, I passed that final, and I took peds and maternity the last, and those were the hardest for me. Like those were really the hardest, and I struggled in both classes up into the final. Like thank God I had support, because I did struggle, and I was literally failing up to the last minute because you need a 80 in nursing school. You need an 80. You cannot get under or you fail. I was literally failing those last 2 courses up into the final. Like, I was like riding and I was basically failing. I was like in the 70s. So I was like, I really have to do well on these finals. So my stress levels were through the roof. So boom, again, by the grace of God, I passed the finals and I passed the classes. And that was it. So now I'm like, okay, cool. We in the midst of COVID. I'm still in it to be a nurse. Is, we hanging in there. We're praying. Then I go to take the boards 2 months after in February. I go somewhere in Jersey, which is pretty a little far from me. Not far, but it is kind of far. So I go to Jersey and I studied. I used UWorld, but I didn't study as much. Like, I studied here and there, nothing consistently. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to take it. So I booked it, took it, and I went up to went up to like 140 something, 150, somewhere around there. And then the test just shut off. And I was just like, I wasn't trying to think negative, but when you have that feeling like, oh, I failed, but I don't know. And silly me, that day, I took my test and decided to go into work after. That was the worst decision of my life. Please do not work the day of your exam, even if it's after, because what I was doing, I was anxious. My mom was going. I was like, oh my God, what if I fail? So they still had the trick where you try to register to take the exam again. That's how you know if you pass or fail. So, of course, by the time I get to work, before I go in, I do the trick. And it basically asks for my credit card again. So now I'm like, oh my God, but that means you failed. So I'm like bugging out. And then I'm just like, okay, still try to think positive. It could be a glitch. It could be whatever. I waited till Sunday that day and got my quick results. And I failed. I was devastated. Like, I was so devastated. And I was like really out of it. I took some time off. And then I was like, okay, you have to find something. So I did research and a lot of research. And I'm like, okay, you're going to figure this out. So I came upon Archer. And I was like, oh, shoot, this is affordable. It has, a lot of content bank. It has all the questions. It has like crash courses with it. It has lives. And it was way affordable than UWorld. UWorld was too like wordy. Like, it just didn't match up with the NCLEX as much. But Archer was easy to understand. And then, so I used that. I used Archer. And then there was NCBSN, like the actual board's website. They had their own like 8-week program, which they don't offer no more. And I'm like, that program was so good. Like, it went through each system of the test and it taught you, it gave you questions. I really think that and Archer really held it down for me. So I did that. That was February. And then, so I took it again in April. So I only gave myself 2 months, which is pretty good time. And I think it's more than enough time. I did like 50 to 100 questions every day consistently. Like, I studied. When I come home from work, study. On the weekends, studied. Like, I was constantly studying, constantly taking questions. And of course, like, different resources threw me off because I was like, okay, I want to use this. No, and then I realized that you need to use only 2 to 3 resources. So I only used 2. And that was Archer, and that was the NCBSN program that they don't have anymore, which was really good. So I used those 2. I studied. I found a closer, that was already a good sign. I found a closer site, which was like 5 minutes away from me. Like 5, not even 10, like 5-7 minutes away from me. And I was like, okay, cool. I made sure I ate that day. I got up early. I was well rested. I really didn't study much the day before because I was not trying to cram my brain. I'm like, no, what I know is what I know at this point. Got up. I went, took the test. I actually even took a break. You know how your anxiety and your nerves be so bad, you do not want to take a break. You just want to really bust it out. Don't do that. Don't do that, because then you're like, No, you want to take a break and you want to reset, and that's exactly what I did. So you're allowed to take a break. They have you put your stuff in the locker, so you don't have to worry about that. But I went out, I walked a little bit, took a break, breathed, and prayed about it, and I went right back in, took the rest of the test, and it stopped at 75. My heart dropped. All I could think of was like, okay, I either did horrible to where it cut me off at 75 and it was no chance, or I did really good. But my gut was telling me I did really good, because it's like, it's no way. Last time I got up to like 100 and something, and then this time I like totally bombed it, and they stopped me at 75. I was like, I had a good feeling about it. So I did the little trick, and it didn't let me register my card or anything. And I was like, okay, this is a good sign. So, of course, time seemed like it was going by slow. But again, that Sunday is in my quick results, and I passed in 75 questions. Now it's like 85, I think. But back then it was 75. And let me stop saying back then like it was so long ago. It was only like technically 4 years ago. But, yeah, so I was so freaking happy. I was like, this is it. Like, it just was so many setbacks after setbacks. And like, I literally have been to how many schools? Like colleges. I've been to a lot of college. I've been to like 6 colleges. But fast forward, after that, I applied. I did a couple jobs. Like, I did some mental health jobs, like with eating disorder, did per diem. And then I did like some home nursing. But then I got a full-time job at a psychiatric inpatient facility, which I was there the longest. I was there for 3 years. Kind of on and off between, because then I had left. I did some neuro ICU. Wasn't really my thing. So then I went back to psych technically. And I stayed there. I started on nights because, nights is the easiest to get in for new grads. So I started on nights. There was no days. I did nights for 6 months. And it was eating me up. Like, I gained so much weight. The boredom, like, you just end up eating, especially in psych. Like, it was too much. So I came back and I finally stayed on. I did swing shift and then I did day shift. So I cannot go back to nights. Like, what works for you. Like, you start off as nights because there's no other positions and you seem to get in quicker. But make sure you switch over to day shift. Like, if you're a night person, then you're a night person. That works for you. But I was like, nah, I can't do night shift. I have to do day shift. Like, that is my thing. So I did psych for a while, and then after about, I want to say, once I started working as a psych nurse, I want to say within that year, I had started my BSN. So remember, I did the ADN program, so only the associate's program. So I did the RN to BSN online. So registered nurse to bachelor's, because you're considered a registered nurse at an associate's degree level. I think people get that confused. So registered nurse you can be a registered nurse at an associate's degree level. As long as you have those 2 years of schooling with the accredited school and you take your boards and you pass, you're a registered nurse. And that's just what it is. So RN to BSN I did online through PACE. And it was only a year. It was actually pretty quick. And everything was online, so that was good. You do have to do clinicals for that program. I did school nursing towards the end. I think the last 2 semesters. It was only 70 or 80. It wasn't that many clinical hours required, so it wasn't too bad. So I did that, completed that, and then by that time I already knew I fell in love with psych, even though it has ups and downs, but I was like, okay, this is me. I already got my bachelor's in psych. I've been working as a nurse in psych, and I'm here. This is what I like to do. So I'm like, okay, let me go for my psych NP. So I made that decision really early on. So the next year, so by that time, it was 2022. So 2022, I was already done. 2023, I had applied to Deweyville, which is in Buffalo, but it's online for my psych NP. So I applied, got in. I convinced my coworker to do it with me, which is nice. So we've been doing it together all this time. Started in 2023 now, and I'm now starting clinical this year. And I'll be done next year, which is beautiful. So there's 3 clinicals, 180 hours the first clinical semester, 240 the second, and then 360 the third. So I have went along that whole journey, and I'm finally here. So if you listen to this story, hopefully you sat through this whole video and watched it. Like, this is your sign. Like, I literally came from a 1.88 GPA in college, and now I'm at a 3.8. Like, I'm telling you, you just got to put in the work. And there's, you have support. You contact other people who have started the program. Maybe they have some notes. Maybe they have like a question bank to help you. And that's what I did. I basically like reached out, and, of course, if you're going through schooling with somebody, you find resources and you share your information and you help each other, because you can't get through nursing school by yourself. It's really hard. Even when you're online, you want to make sure that you connect. Make a group chat, do something, make sure you connect with other people, because you never know. It just makes it so much easier on you, rather than you taking the hard way and just trying to cram everything, when that's not going to work, when you can find an easier route and, could stay focused on what you actually need to know. And I think that's the hardest thing in nursing school. You're trying to study everything when you don't need to know everything. It's just certain things like your assessment, your diagnosis, your planning, your interventions. Like, those are important, like, on exams. Even when it comes to being a nurse practitioner, your assessment, your diagnosis, your interventions, like, those are very important, especially when it comes to undergrad. Like, you want to know the important parts out of that. What are the labs to look for? What are, what is the specific diagnosis looking for? What are the labs? What are the interventions that's going to be used? What's the non-pharmacological interventions first, and then you do the pharmacological? Like, those are things that you need to know. All the other noise that's in those textbooks, no. Just leave it out and focus on what you need to focus on. If you can remember that, and you remember all those tips, you will do well in nursing school. Like, you will do well. Trust me. Just, keep praying. Like I said, make connections with your other classmates. Share information. Like, you're going to have some classmates who's going to be like bougie and not want to share information, and, is going to be getting all the high scores and going to act like they don't want to tell you anything. Screw them. There's other people in your class. Like, that's it. So I hope this has helped anyone that has been looking to become a nurse or a nurse practitioner. Even if you have a low GPA, you can build it up. Just retake courses if you failed it, and just make sure you get really good grades. Even if you take 1 or 2 courses at a time, don't try to take all your prereqs in the same semester. Don't do that, because you're going to kill yourself. First of all, chemistry is a killer. If your school is requiring chemistry, good luck. Hopefully they only required it as a C, because chemistry was the hardest. I struggled with chemistry the most. I still don't understand it. Still really don't understand it. No. It was like rocket science to me. But yeah, just, take your time to get your GPA up. And again, while you're in another degree program, you can take it. Or, like I said, you can do a non-matriculated degree, non-degree, technically, from like a community college. That way it's more affordable. And just only take the prereqs that's required from the schools you're applying to. Don't be taking a whole bunch. No, look at that requirement list on that school website and write it down, and make sure you're only taking those courses, because that's the only thing that's required. And then the rest of the courses will be your nursing courses, and that's it. Like, don't overthink it. Get straight to the point, and it's going to take time. You're going to have some setbacks, but as long as you learn to maneuver, you will be okay. I promise you, you will be okay. And so far, my Psych MP program has been going pretty good. If you do want to know more, you can always write me under the comments. You can DM me, because I do have some helpful stuff for those of you who are going to the school that I'm at. I can always help you out, because like I said, I've already been through the beginning, like the advanced health assessment and all the videos and memorizing a full head to toe. It was a lot. It was a lot of recording, and it was a lot. But you'll get through it. And now I'm in clinical, and it's just, you learn more. I think you're going to learn the most when you're in clinical, and that's what I feel like is happening right now, is when the real stuff begins. Even though like I was a psych nurse, it's still it's different when you're a provider. So you're learning way more, and you have to learn way more. Like it's a different scenario. But I hope you guys like this video, and I hope this has motivated you to want to go to nursing school and stop letting fears hold you back. Please do not let negativity, fears, self-doubt, or other people doubting you hold you back. You got a low GPA. You can bring that GPA up, trust me, and you can still become a nurse. So don't let that stop you. Like, oh, you have to be the best applicant with straight A's, and it's so competitive you can't get in. No. Find a local community college, apply to a nursing program, and do what you got to do. Don't be trying to go for all these high prestigious colleges. No. As long as they teach you and you put in the work and you take your boards and it's, again, accredited, you're good to go. Don't even worry about applying to prestigious colleges looking for 4.0s and all of that. No. There's other programs, smaller programs, where you have a better chance at getting in. So focus on that, and I wish you nothing but the best. And make sure you like and subscribe so I can make more videos. You can always add suggestions at the bottom in the comments. I am more than happy to answer any questions you have, and I will see you guys soon.